You're tuned in to the Bleav in Arizona podcast. Hello, Bear Down Believers. Welcome into the show. I'm your host, Matt Reynoldson, and we'll be getting together a few times a week to talk everything U of A sports. Of course, a little background on me. If you missed our debut show earlier in the week, I'm the former sports director at KVOA, the Tucson NBC station. So I've been on the front lines covering the red and blue from the football field to the basketball court, everywhere in between, getting those stories, getting that inside information. Now I'm proud to be joining the Bleav Podcast Network. You can check them out on YouTube, BLEAV, for a host of their national shows. A lot of great stuff from all leagues, all teams. And then my show will be on Bleav.com, BLEAV.com, as well as Spotify, Apple Music, anywhere you can get the Bleav in Arizona podcast. All right, enough shameless self-promotion. Let's talk Cats. And I know we're coming up on football season. Should be a really exciting time of year, but basketball is always on the brain. You know that here in Southern Arizona. Even in July, the guys have been on campus for about 6 weeks here, and that includes the transfers for the Wildcats. 3 really high-impact possibility transfers that they brought in Trey Townsend, the forward from Oakland, Anthony Del Orzo, the guard forward from Campbell, and Toby Awaka, the forward from Tennessee. So 3 players that can all kind of play that swing forward, power forward role. Del Orzo is more of a shooting guard, small forward type, but all guys that can really be instant impact type players for the Arizona Wildcats. So today I want to discuss what their impact can be on this roster this year, with a particular focus on Trey Townsend. We heard from him earlier this week. The Horizon League Player of the Year is a daunting forward, stands about 6'8", 6'9", maybe 6'10", depending on the measurements of where you're looking at. But the big thing is, he won Horizon League Player of the Year. He was the best player in his conference. And oh yeah, let's check these notes. What did Oakland do in March? Oh yeah, they upset Kentucky. They basically ran John Calipari out of town. Trey Townsend, Jack Golke, that group of Grizzlies did it for the first time at Oakland. I mean, just an incredible accomplishment in March. Probably the upset of the year in March that was kind of devoid of upsets. Arizona made the second weekend only to get upset by Clemson, but that first weekend highlight was certainly Oakland over Kentucky. The little guy over the giant, the Cinderella story, if you will, something that we really enjoy March for. Well, all that magic, all that swagger that Oakland brought into that game, that's all kind of encapsulated in Trey Townsend. And that's a lot to put on one player, I know, but his journey to this point is so different than any other journey that you see really in the transfer portal. I mean, we've seen it run rampant this year. Football obviously is its own case, but basketball especially, I mean, it was the Wild West out there. It's becoming NBA free agency with, but with 1-year contracts, if everybody's on a 1-year contract. But this is a little bit of a different story. Trey Townsend is a true underdog story. Didn't have a single D1 offer out of high school. Didn't have a single D1 walk-on offer outside of Oakland. Only had, he said, 1.5 available D2 scholarships that he could have taken. So he was completely under the radar, got a spot on the Oakland roster, became a starter. He started every game that he played in for Oakland. And he told his coach before the 2023-24 season that he was going to depart after the season, use his extra COVID year of eligibility to try and find one more year, one more opportunity to elevate himself toward that NBA level. And he chose Tommy Lloyd and the Arizona Wildcats. Take a listen to what Townsend had to say on Thursday about his journey to Arizona.
I'd never had the opportunity to be recruited by these schools or go play at this level. And, I did my 4 years there and was able to excel and develop under a great coach and a great system there, and just kind of reap the rewards and benefits of that, but kind of as an intermediate stage between professional and the collegiate level, since I have that extra year. So I had maybe 1.5 scholarship offers for Division II schools in Michigan, but my dream, I always wanted to play Division I basketball, and Oakland was the only place that I had that opportunity, and it was that walk-on spot. And for it to be so close to home too, I wasn't too worried about if it didn't work out, because in my mind I was like, okay, if it doesn't, I have these D2 schools I can go to, but I don't want to, regret not taking a chance and seeing what could have happened. Unfortunately, I was able to make the most of the opportunity.
So I think you can tell by Trey's comments there that this was not just let's go into the portal and get the bag, or let's go see who is going to wine and dine me the best. He was really looking for an opportunity to just play against the best level competition, play at the highest level, figure out a way to maximize his potential for a potential NBA opportunity after this. And the biggest thing that he said, and he repeated it several times throughout his sort of introductory press conference, we'll call it that, was Keshad Johnson. That blueprint. What Keshad brought to the Wildcats last year, that is what the vision that was sold to Trey Townsend. That's what Tommy Lloyd said. Hey, look at this. Look at this blueprint. Look at this guy I brought in from San Diego State, this guy who was a utility player, an enforcer, a good defender, a good rebounder, but didn't really fill up the score sheet. Tommy said, come on down to Tucson. Take that short flight from San Diego to Tucson. Maybe he probably drove to get his stuff here, but take that short trip. Come on down. I'm going to develop you offensively. I see potential in what you are offensively. That's what he said to Keshad Johnson. I see your ceiling as a player, as an individual, as an NBA prospect. Yeah, you're super athletic. Everybody knows that. I mean, look at the windmill dunks. They were there at San Diego State. They were there at Arizona. They were there. But the offense, the way this system is set up, gave Keshad Johnson the opportunity to thrive, gave him the opportunity to shoot threes, gave him the opportunity to handle the ball. And then Trey Townsend comes in. This incredibly skilled offensive player, lethal on the baseline, somebody who had done all these different things in sort of a structured system where he was able to, pass at an extremely high level because he had great shooters like Jack Golke on his team that could spread out onto the perimeter, but also score at an extremely high level, both at the basket and away from the basket. So where can he maximize that best? Maybe somewhere like Arizona. And Oakland is not on the same level of program as San Diego State. I mean, Keshad came to Arizona after SDSU made the national title game. They fell short to UConn, but made the national title game. That was an incredible run as a 5 seed through that top left region of the bracket. So he came to Arizona off that level of success. So he was bringing maybe a different perspective, but Townsend comes to Arizona off a similar level of success for the extrapolation. So I'll explain that a little bit because that's a big word for this scenario, but for what Oakland is and for what San Diego State is, compare those two programs. If San Diego State getting to a national championship is right here, Oakland getting into the tournament, winning the Horizon League, and beating Kentucky is either right here, like just a little bit less, or maybe even a little bit more. So unprecedented success at both programs. That's what the power forward position, the power forward guy at Arizona is coming from. And Townsend saw an opportunity. He saw a chance. He saw a blueprint with Keshad Johnson to come to Arizona and develop his game much in the way that Keshad did. Take a listen.
Once, Coach Tommy Lloyd, head coach of Arizona, contacts you, it's, that's a special thing. And I saw what they did with a guy like Keshad Johnson who came here after a year, 4 years at San Diego State, and I saw what they did with him, and I believed in their vision that they had for me, and I think I could fill in that role that he had for this team last year. I want to expand my game 3-point wise as they allowed him to do last year. That was another huge reason why I came here. Was I want to show that I'm a capable 3-point shooter, and so far I've been able to do that through practices, and I really see myself kind of being that rebounder 3-and-D kind of guy for this team, to help us win in any way I can.
I mean, pencil him in as a starter right now. That's certainly what I'm doing. I mean, if I had to put me on the spot right here today, I'd say your starting 5 is Jaden Bradley at the 1, Caleb Love at the 2, probably KJ Lewis at the 3, Trey Townsend at the 4, Mo Krivas at the 5. I mean, I don't think I'm going to get a ton of argument with that. Maybe he tinkers with the lineups just a little bit, but it seems like that's pretty well drawn out. Even at this point in July, that's probably going to be the case for the starting roster of the Arizona men's basketball team. But Townsend sees his play develop at this level. I mean, look, it's a massive jump from playing at Oakland to playing at Arizona. I mean, there's a standard here. I mean, you look at all the banners, you look at all the Sweet 16s, you look at 97, you look at the Final Fours, look at all the players on the wall when you walk through the halls of McHale. It's a little bit different here and a lot different than a lot of other college basketball programs around the country. But I think what Townsend has sort of started to adapt to, and that's what he told us on Thursday, he started to adapt to the pace of play and the level of elite that you have to show even in summer workouts, which are really intense. I mean, every guy here has played college basketball at an extremely high level. And the ones who haven't are Carter Bryant and Emmanuel Stephen. Oh, look at that. They're top 100 recruits. Oh, look at that. Carter Bryant's a McDonald's All-American who is playing with Cooper Flagg, who may be the #1 pick in next year's NBA draft. He'll be great at Duke, and he'll visit Arizona, I think, in December. We're still waiting for those official dates of the non-conference season to come out, but Duke is visiting McHale this year. I'm excited. I'm excited. I'll be there. Should be a lot of fun. But back to Trey Townsend. I mean, this is a guy that comes in and knows, okay, here's what I need to do to raise my level from Horizon League Player of the Year to a strong Big 12 contributor, an all Big 12 player, an All-American. Because Arizona gives you that platform to be an All-American. That's what he wants to be. And the two things that he has had to adjust to so far, elite players around him and pace of play. Take a listen to both sound bites of what he had to say on those.
Just, the elite talent that every single player on this roster has. Everyone is an impact player, can help this team in any way. There's not one guy that's, so far below someone else, and I also think the experience that this roster has, a lot of guys have played together and the guys that have played meaningful minutes, so they're able to teach a lot of the new guys, which has helped me, and I'd assume it helped, a handful of the other new guys to kind of pick up, things that Coach Lloyd's teaching us and adjust to this pace of play is another big thing, especially here at Arizona. The biggest thing basketball-wise is just the pace that, we play at here. At Oakland, we tried to play at a faster pace, but against the power schools, we kind of tried to slow it down and control tempo because, now that I'm here, the bigger schools like to play at a faster tempo, get more shots. And I think that's the biggest thing I've noticed from a strategic standpoint. But I think I always will go back to just the dedication of the entire staff to improving everyone individually. It's just something that's unmatched, and it's great to see. It makes you want to come to practice, come to workouts every day because you genuinely feel like your coaches, wants you to be the best that you can be. So.
Yeah, as you look into the weeds of Trey's resume a little bit there, I think one of the biggest differences when it comes to Oakland and when it comes to Arizona is, as he mentioned, pace of play. So Oakland would always be in a matchup zone. So we're talking defensively here, right? So everything Oakland would do would be matchup zone, which Townsend said was really difficult to learn. It's difficult to adapt to. And then Greg Kampe, the head coach, is one of the best set play designers in the country. And so there was a ton of structure within Oakland's offense, Oakland's defense. Translate that to Arizona, and while Tommy Lloyd has an extremely high standard and is a very good coach and is very detail-oriented, he is not structured in the way he coaches his guys. He is not a guy that's going to say, all right, we're going to run a ton of set plays, or we're going to really structure you into this offense, or this is exactly where you do the high ball screen and roll. No, it's a lot of freedom. It's a lot of freelancing. It's how you adjust to having that freedom to play at this pace, to play at this level. And that's what gets guys to the NBA. I mean, we've seen it in other guys. I mean, look, say what you want about Pelle Larsson, Keshad Johnson. They're going to have a shot to make the Miami Heat roster. I mean, Keshad's putting on a heck of a performance in Summer League. Pelle was obviously a draft pick. I mean, those guys learned how to create for themselves at Arizona. And if you do that within the context of the offense, within the context of the team, you're going to play, and you're going to play a lot of minutes, and you're going to be able to create when things are going terribly, like they did in the Sweet 16 game against Clemson. How much more creation would have been the ability to make something happen? If guys were more creative and had the ability to make more things happen outside of just chucking up bricks at Crypto.com Arena, I know it's a bad shooting night, it happens, but if you can really, really create and really create matchup problems and break down a brick wall defense like Brad Brownell and Clemson employed in that Sweet 16 game, and your shooting is not the end-all be-all of you, that's a Final Four team. I don't care. They beat Alabama in that case. It was a Final Four roster last year. And we thought we were coming into this year. We thought the Wildcats would come in and let's take some lumps early, get ready for Big 12 play. Carter Bryant coming in, Joe Sansanon, Jamari Phillips, Emmanuel Stephen. All four of those freshmen will be in the rotation. Maybe add a transfer or two. Throw it all together. Caleb Love goes to the NBA. A couple guys transfer out. We'll see what happens. Take the lumps in November, December, January. Get ready for March. Come in as a 5 or a 6 seed. No, that's not the case anymore. Now the expectations are up here. The expectations are incredible. That's one of the huge reasons that Trey Townsend came here, is because of the expectations. Now, 2 things I want to get to on Townsend. Yeah, he came here for the opportunity to play against the Big 12 and play in one of the best basketball conferences in the nation. We'll get to that in a minute. But the way this all kind of stacked up was Townsend wasn't the last puzzle piece to fit in. You see that a lot of times with the transfer portal. Guys will come in as the final piece. They'll come in as the guy that flips the light on. They're not the electrical wiring behind the wall. They're the guy that flips the light on. No. Townsend was one of those first foundational pieces. And then the flood of things started happening. Then they got Anthony Delorso from Campbell. Then Caleb Love decided to come back. Then Jaden Bradley withdrew from the NBA draft. KJ Lewis locks in his spot. Toby Awaka locks in his spot. And this all comes in together around a guy like Trey Townsend, who believed in his vision, his prospects of being a Keshad Johnson type impact player, believed in Tommy Lloyd, easy to do, one of the winningest coaches in college basketball history through his first 3 seasons at Arizona. Easy to believe in a guy that does that. The March wins will come. They do for every good coach, and Tommy Lloyd is a darn good coach. But Trey Townsend believed in that. Here's what he had to say about being not the final piece of the puzzle, but one of the first pieces of the puzzle.
I mean, it's definitely an exciting feeling. I think even before I committed, there was a lot of great pieces already on the team. And like you said, after I did commit, seeing those guys come back and a guy like Tobe Awaka and Anthony Delorso, it just come together, like you said, a big puzzle. It was so great to see it. I was so excited to be able to get here and play with these guys, these talented people. And, I'm just so excited for this season. But, obviously it feels good when you got a bunch of guys coming in after you and the guys before you on one team like we do here.
And the last soundbite I wanted to play for you guys from Trey was really one of the highlights of his interview on Thursday, was just kind of showing his competitive nature. I mean, the guy wants to come in, wants to compete at the highest level, wants to rub elbows with some of the best players in the country. And what better place to do that than the Big 12? I mean, this league is loaded. Kansas, Iowa State, Houston, Baylor, BYU was a top 25 team last year. The Mountain Swing was the toughest in the Pac-12. The Colorado-Utah Swing, yeah, Arizona swept it last year because Arizona was a really darn good team. But that was the toughest swing in the Pac-12. Now what's the toughest? Probably Kansas and Iowa State, but Houston, Baylor's no slouch. Got to go to Texas Tech, play in front of that crowd. Have you seen those home games? It goes crazy. How about West Virginia? The Mountaineer fans are nuts. UCF, that's a tough place to play. Cincinnati, I mean, they've been a really good basketball program. Kansas State, your Doom Dome kind of cowers on top of you. I've been in there. It's intimidating. Not as intimidating as they think it is, but it's pretty intimidating still. Nothing like playing at Fog Allen Fieldhouse. Nothing like playing at McHale. And then, the team up by 10, the Devils, ASU, coming back, and, they've always got a target on Arizona. They'll play them twice a year. You don't think Bobby Hurley wants to get 1 or 2 on Tommy? There's no easy weekend in this conference. There's no easy Monday in this conference. Big 12, Big Monday. Trey Townsend's coming into the thick of that. And his response shows what kind of competitor he is.
The whole reason I entered the transfer portal was to be able to play college basketball at the highest level. And with that move, I feel the Big 12 is probably the best conference there is in college basketball right now. And being able to jump right into that, like, how could you not be excited? Those high profile games, night in and night out. There's not any game that you look at and you're like, oh, thankfully we're playing them. Every single game is going to be a battle. It's going to be physical, and that's kind of like what I said about Tobey and I, and that's the style of basketball we love to play. So, like I said, how could I not be excited?
All right, exceptional stuff from Trey Townsend there on Thursday. Thanks for him being available. Thanks to Arizona Athletics for making him available on kind of a quiet time of year, but really, really excited to see how he fits in with this Arizona basketball roster. I'm optimistic. It's July. Everybody's optimistic in July, but I think this could be a really good team this year. And I think the particular heartbreak of last March will be a driver for some of the guys this year. I think Caleb Love is a guy that can come back with a chip on his shoulder and, maybe not win Big 12 Player of the Year. I mean, that's a tough ask in a conference like this, but coming to March with a little more fire, coming to March with just his head screwed on right, and the whole team, ready to roll. I think Jaden Bradley's a good fit at point guard. I think Mo Krivas is going to be just exceptional underneath. Spent a year learning from Umar Ballo. I mean, he's not going to be as physical as Ballo, but he certainly will be a better free throw shooter. So it just comes down to having those strong hands underneath and figuring out ways to get to the basket strongly. That's kind of what it comes down to for Krivas. Townsend, he's a known commodity, just about adjusting to this level. KJ Lewis, athletic freak. I mean, then coming off the bench, Del Orso, Carter Bryant, Toby Awaka, potentially a Henry Visar or Emmanuel Steven, at that center spot. They could go 9 deep. They really could. There's a lot of ways they could go 9 deep. They could go 10 or 11 deep, maybe in those non-conference games. I'm excited about Arizona basketball. I'm excited. We got a long way till then, though. Fall camp for football, that comes first. We'll talk a little bit about that, of course, in the next show. We always talk football. Kind of take a little dip into the basketball pool. And we'll take a dip every single show into the rest of Arizona athletics with our Bear Down rundown. We'll end every single show with a little water cooler talk, what you need to know to, talk at the water cooler, talking a little bit about Arizona athletics. And this topic this week, especially with the Olympics coming up next week, is Olympians, Arizona Olympians. There's been 130 of them. That's including the 8 this year. Obviously, the most notable of that group is a former Arizona basketball player that is not donning the stars and stripes for basketball, but instead doing it for beach volleyball. Former NBA player Chase Budinger is going to the Olympics for beach volleyball. Looks like he's in great shape. Great opportunity for him. So excited for Chase on that. 8 Arizona Olympians, 130 in the program's history, not just the basketball program, but the entire athletic program. Their history has had 130 Olympians, 76 medals overall, 34 gold medals, and there's still some people that could be part of this Olympic group this year. We could see double-digit Wildcat alums or current Wildcats going to the Olympics for their respective teams. A couple guys still on the board: Josh Green in basketball, Azuolas Tubelis, of course. You got guys like Nico Mannion. The Olympics will be well represented for Arizona Wildcats. So if you want to see that, it's one of the greatest spectacles in the world of sports, the Paris Olympics this year, starting on NBC. So certainly excited to see that, excited to see all the Arizona Olympians. And, on just a general level, excited to see what this USA basketball team can do. This is maybe one of the best groups that we've ever seen. Probably the best group, talent-wise. Top to bottom, that we've ever seen. Steve Kerr, former Wildcat, said about his team, he's coaching the team, said about his team, he thinks there's 12 Hall of Famers on there. Now, that was before Kawhi Leonard went out with injury. So, debate a wall whether Derek White's a Hall of Famer. I don't think he is yet, but stack a couple more trophies on there and we'll see. Maybe Derek White's in the Hall of Fame conversation. I don't know. I can't predict a guy's career. But what I can predict is an absolute steamrolling for the United States over every country in the world at this tournament. They're loaded. I got Anthony Edwards coming off the bench. Probably. Book started a couple of the exhibition games, but maybe Devin Booker's coming off the bench. Kevin Durant with the calf injury, he should be starting. Maybe he's coming off the bench. This team is loaded. Jason Tatum's almost certainly coming off the bench, and he was probably the best player for the NBA champions this year. This team is so good, and again, maybe not right that this happened, but this team is so good that the finals MVP is not on the roster. Might be because of the Nike situation, but the finals MVP is not on this roster. I'm excited to watch USA basketball. Excited to watch a lot of different sports coming up at the Olympics. So should be a really, really fun 2 weeks in Paris. I'm excited to see what the USA can do. And really, I mean, just from a general sporting interest, excited to see if some of the other countries have stepped up to the USA's level. But mostly focused, of course, on those 8, maybe plus Arizona Wildcats that are going to the Olympics in Paris. Should be a great 2 weeks in France and one of the greatest spectacles in all of sports. That'll do it for this edition of the Bleav in Arizona podcast. You can check this out on either Bleav.com or wherever you get your podcasts. Bleav in Arizona with Matt Reynoldson. Also on my YouTube page at Matt_Reynoldson. We'll be getting together several times throughout the next week and leading up to football training camp. Some great interviews coming your way. But once again, I want to thank Arizona Athletics and Trey Townsend for giving us some great content today in the middle of summer. That's it for today's show. Have a great one. We'll see you next time.